This podcast is brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Did you know that if you signed up right now at our $5 tier at patreon.com/dissectingthe80s, you would get 24 bonus episodes, nearly 34 hours of additional content of this show. And I'm talking some pretty heavy hitters, movies like Die Hard, Dirty Dancing, Flashdance, Lost Boys, She's All That, Adventures in Babysitting, Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, Back to the Future, The Thing, Ghostbusters, Footloose, Lethal Weapon, Tremors, My Blue Heaven, Halloween, and so much more. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to find out how you can get more of this podcast that you're listening to.
I forgot Tremors was a Patreon.
Among many other wonderful films. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, my DA agent, kid brother, the Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. Although
I said DA agent, which is just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just
attorney.
Yeah.
ADA to DA.
My brain went from DEA agent.
Oh, very different.
Yeah.
Although I guess I probably would be more of the criminal of the two of us.
I feel like we have an equal amount of very minor criminality.
Yeah,
is what I would
probably.
Say. This is our theme month that, by God, must be better.
Oh, it's already started better. So
this is like a cold drink of
100% of last month was terrible. So far, 50% of this month has been good.
I think the next one, which I've never seen, is going to be kind of like a wild one, which is usually fun. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if our Patreon pick will be on theme, but we'll figure.
Yeah, it might not be. It might be more pride related.
Yeah, or it might tie into our July, extravaganza that's coming up. So
right,
we will discuss that off pod. But in any case, we watched Johnny Dangerously to do our little theme month here of John.
The month of John.
Instead of June. The month of John. Thank you. I keep forgetting. John Lai was so good.
It was.
I was delighted
but
by it. And it will make more sense when people hear the title of our next movie at the end of this episode. Stay tuned. So people are going to be like, oh, John Lai was bad.
It was, but the month of John. You can't just say John because the month of John is.
The month of John.
At least has a bit of a pun to it verbally.
Anyway, we watched the month of John special, Johnny Dangerously, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We're gonna go dissect the 80s. It's your law-abiding nightclub owner. So get your law-abiding nightclub owner.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Want to start off here. We got a nice email from, we'll just call them Potter, and not read out this person's last name, but a good suggestion and a nice note, so I was going to read that off here. It says, "Hi, brothers. I love your show. You two are committed to entertaining, insightful commentary about movies, however awful some of them are. I love that you leaned into your Captain Ron episode without hamming it up over how bad it was. You don't fall in love with one or two jokes or impressions that you beat to death." I have some questions.
Well, I mean,
I appreciate the nice thing.
I don't know about that. See Edward Scissorhands.
I don't know if that's true, but I do appreciate the kind words. Every episode is well done and interesting, and your rapport is infectious. That's a very nice thing. My only suggestion is an easy one. At the beginning of each episode, can you give a 30-second summary of the plot of the movie you're talking about? This would help me become more engaged when hearing about movies I haven't seen. Keep up the great work, Potter. Which I thought was a good suggestion.
Right.
And something we haven't done, or maybe we used to do and don't do. But along that note, I was looking, I was trying to do, the things I do where I try to use this podcast to get to do cool stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I, in the process of doing that, trying to tell people how great we were and our good audience reach, I found an episode or a review on a different thing. And I'm going to do it at the top of the show here because I think people start tuning me out at the end. So
I know I do.
It's a 5-star review. You son of a bitch. This is from Cool Keith 34, dated April 17th, 2024. So just
not that old. Okay.
Yeah, fresh one. Love the Don't Tell Mom episode. As far as the water gun, there were a whole line of Rambo M16s, Uzis, AK-47s that were all automatic water guns. They passed like a law or something where kids' gun toys could not look realistic, and then Super Soakers came along with their bright colors. My other guess is the law thing might be apocryphal, but the Super Soaker so much better than a squirt gun. Probably just like destroyed the market for the automatic squirt gun, because it's like you have a kid out there with a Super Soaker, the SP-50, the original guy, and you've got your Uzi squirt gun, and you just get drenched while you try to shoot six.
Unless you're like a real fast kid.
Even so, like the Super Soaker, it was just a volume thing. Like I remember watching a history documentary once, and it was talking about like the evolution of guns in like, World War II or whatever it was. And the guy, this was such a vividly phrased thing. It just stuck in my head. This historian was like, well, the old adage, he who throws the most lead wins. And that is truly what would happen there with a Super Soaker.
Yeah.
Like he who dispenses the most liquid wins the water.
We had a nice little collection of Super Soakers, but or Super Soaker style toys, I should say. I don't know that they were all name brand.
We had a couple of branded ones, and then I remember like the arms race of the ones that in hindsight were like way too big and heavy for a child.
Yeah, they were.
Just hold too much water.
They started to have straps, and we were like, hang on.
Yes, we had a knockoff one of those that didn't work very well, but looked so damn cool. So you tried to use it all the time, like both of us. And then it just didn't work very well.
Did we have the one with the backpack reservoir, or was it the neighbor did?
But a neighbor kid had a backpack one, and I remember when they got it, they were like almost too small. They couldn't fill the thing.
Yeah,
it would be like
a turtle.
It would be like you put it on, and just all of a sudden, whoomp, down he goes. It'd be is Don't Tell Mom the poster with
yeah. Or it could be not Ralphie, the little brother in Christmas Story. Just
sure, yeah.
Mikey,
same basic idea, yeah.
No, Mikey the Kicks.
I don't remember what the brother's name is.
It's hard because it's mother and father, so like maybe it is just little brother Ralphie. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what the brother's name is. Randy. It is Randy. You're right.
Randy. Okay. All right.
You got there.
We'll
save your tweets.
We'll edit out the 6 minutes of silence as we just looked to the sky and tried to recall that information. So anyway, thank you for the review. Thank you, Potter, for the suggestion, which we'll do our best to remember to do. I think it's a good suggestion. And on that note, since you probably don't normally hear this if you skip the end of the show, review the show. We like to read those on the air. That was a 5-star review there from Cool Keith 34, I think it was. Cool. But we read those out on the air. So if you want to hear your review read, review the damn show. And if it's not on the Apple podcast, then you should send us an email with a screenshot at dissectingthe80s@gmail.com if you want it read on the show. But that all helps us get the show out to more people. So please review it if you haven't read it yet, or reviewed it yet, excuse me. We appreciate those very, very much. And if you have a suggestion or idea or something like that, like, hey, here's the thing I think could make your show a little better, dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. And if you want to say something mean, just delete the podcast.
Yeah.
It's free. You don't have to send that email, but we appreciated the one there from Potter. So,
because I guarantee you cannot be meaner to me than my best friends already are.
Also, it is just not that important. There are just infinite other ways to spend your time than being mean to strangers. Anyway, Johnny Dangerously. This is a delightful spoof movie directed by the great Amy Heckerling.
The incomparable Amy Heckerling, I might say.
Yeah, maybe.
Certainly
the queen of the high school.
Yeah. I feel like if John Hughes is the king of high school movies, then Amy Heckerling is the queen of high school movies.
I mean, she made the quintessential 90s high school movie in Clueless, and one that stands shoulder to shoulder with the John Hughes ones, and is certainly a little bit more realistic depiction of high school in
Best Times
at Ridgemont High.
Is that 80s or is that?
It's 89,
okay.
Yeah. It's one we have talked about doing for forever and just never done. Maybe this year.
I've never seen it, so.
Oh, okay. I actually read the book, which I'd always wanted to do. Cameron Crowe wrote it.
Oh.
He actually, he went undercover.
He Drew Barrymore?
Student. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is also based on a true story. I don't know if you know that.
Drew Barrymore's? Well, I mean,
Never
Been
Been Kissed, yes.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, as a 26-year-old reporter who went undercover in a high school. I don't think the part with the romance with the teacher.
I should hope not.
That story,
because that is questionable.
It would be fine if after it was like, hey, I have to tell you the truth. You've been very nice to me, and I think there might be something, here, whatever. And I have to take you out for it.
When two people know that they are two adults, but when one adult thinks the other is a 16-year-old, we got a problem.
Inappropriate by a factor of about 1 billion. Yeah. The Cameron Crowe went undercover, wrote the book. The book's very interesting. I would have some stuff to add there, but then the movie, the issue with that movie, and it's maybe less so than others, is I haven't watched it in a long time, so maybe I'm talking to my ass here. I think it's got some stuff where you're like a little squicky,
probably,
about, and certainly there's the whole, she needs to get an abortion and the shitty behavior all around that stuff too. So there's just, it's one of those movies where it feels pretty real in the things that it deals with, but we'll never do Revenge of the Nerds on this show. I'll just tell you that. We may do a nerd sequel because there's no rape in those, as far as I recall.
We'll do a quick Wikipedia search to make sure.
But if we did one, it'd be probably one of the sequels where it's just like, I just don't want to talk about a rape scene.
I don't.
For 10 minutes. Yeah. And also, I don't think I have anything interesting to say condemning it because, everybody's very aware that that's bad. Yeah. So that is perhaps one of the reasons why we haven't touched on that one. But maybe we'll do a little investigation and see. But anyway, Johnny Dangerously is the story of a young boy who needs money and wants to get into the gangster lifestyle, and as he grows up has a younger brother who is a district attorney, and no one knows who Johnny Dangerously is, but the two brothers, one's the DA agent, one is the DA and the other one is the most notorious gangster in town.
It's basically if Mel Brooks wrote Goodfellas.
Sure, yeah, it does feel very much like that. This is like way in the wheelhouse of the silly stuff that we liked. And honestly, I hadn't watched this in forever.
We definitely watched this more than a handful of times growing up, I feel like.
Mom loved this movie for sure. Mm-hmm. She's a big fan, and our older brother loves this movie as well. And it was definitely one that we watched more than once. I feel like it had an era of being like on, and then it just wasn't anymore.
It feels like it would have been a Comedy Central or TBS kind of thing.
Yeah. It just feels like one that was sort of in the ether and then wasn't anymore. Mm-hmm. So,
it's also Amy Heckerling even said she's like, unfortunately, like she's like, I feel like I wrote a good movie and it was acted well and directed well. Or not, I don't know, she didn't write it. I think she just directed it.
She didn't write it. Yeah.
It's why she only writes her own things after this. But she was like, it was written well and directed well and acted well, but unfortunately, like no one was super familiar with the point of reference. Like 1940s James Cagney black and white mobster movies were not popular at this point.
Which is crazy to me because like I'm not familiar with them either. Like I've definitely seen one or two gangster movies of the era, but it's like the movie has a ton of jokes in it. It's just packed with
them. Does. However, it is packed with, in the best way, it is packed with theme park ride jokes.
Oh, for
and
sure.
So I think because you and I are more familiar with the mobster oeuvre from theme parks.
Yeah. I mean, if this certainly is like the great movie ride.
Yeah.
Section of gangster movies for sure as a reference point helped. Yeah. There's a theme park podcast I enjoy called Podcast The Ride, and one of them was talking about like being a little kid and going to at the time MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios, and riding that ride, and then like going home and renting the Busby Berkeley musicals and the John Wayne movies, and just being like, oh, this was like to a kid it was like, well, if it's here it must be important.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, as opposed to like the truth of it was like some
it was
complicated
cheap
group of I was gonna say a bunch of lawyers in a boardroom haggling over what was allowed to go and what wasn't and what could be.
We'll give you Garland, but you gotta take this too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, like trading players on a baseball team.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to take some of our garbage. Dude.
Actually, no, it would have been, you get Wizard of Oz, but you can't have Judy Garland, and in that place, you can have this movie.
Yes. Yeah. You can have John Wayne, but he can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can show a John Wayne, but he can't talk, although I think John Wayne does.
I think he does. Although he might, because Judy's a sound-alike, or was a sound-alike. So maybe John Wayne was too.
Yeah. Or just like okay, if you want the gangster movies, you gotta have Johnny Weissmuller do the Tarzan. You gotta have a whole section in the middle that's just Johnny Weissmuller going, and that's just part of the deal. So yeah, you're probably right that we were a little bit more familiar with it for sure. That also, like, it probably this for the same reasons as I've said 100 times on this podcast over the years, that like I love the Star Trek episode "A Piece of the Action," which is objectively corny, but it's like they go down to a town and it's the whole planet's society is based around
Wild
Chicago
Western.
gangster
Oh,
films.
it's that one. There is a Western one too, isn't there? A Western planet at some point.
I don't remember there being a cowboy planet on the original show, but it's not entirely impossible that pops up later. There's a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So we'll have we have gotten a long preamble to talking about this movie, which is a movie I think we both have a lot of fondness for. I really enjoyed this. I actually was completely flabbergasted to look up the reviews at the time, and Amy Heckerling's thing makes total sense that like they don't have the touch point, and that was the problem. But watching this, I was most reminded of Hot Fuzz because of just how dense it is.
Yeah, I can see that.
So many. Yeah, they don't do anything to the length that Hot Fuzz does, where it's like they make a little joke in minute 4, and then in minute 84, you get a second for
yeah,
the
it
beat of
pays
that
off.
joke. Yeah, which obviously is part of the reason I love that movie so much. But there's just so like, although I will say they do have a couple. They do have the runner with. I have his name written down later when it comes up, but the actor who runs the news.
Oh yeah.
Hit in the head with the newspapers. They do have a couple like long runners like that, but mostly what you have here is Michael Keaton like getting to play all over the map, which he's excellent at, obviously. Who doesn't like that? And then
like baby-eyed Michael Keaton, like like doe-eyed lashes Michael Keaton.
Yeah, you get Danny DeVito coming in for just like an off the bench, power bat.
Forgot he was in this until the credits.
Same, and I was like, oh yeah. And then the adversary of Joe Piscopo, who not an actor I love, but is like very good at
real
this.
good,
like very clearly understands the assignment. I would guess, I don't know this, but is probably a fan of those Cagney movies and that stuff. As
Probably.
Well. And that comes through in the performance. And then Peter Boyle.
Yeah.
It is very Brooksy, as you said, and even has a couple of the players there. And then, frankly, she doesn't get as much to do, but Mary Lou Henner very fun in this movie as well.
And the mom, who I believe...
Love her.
Mary,
write her name down.
Mary something.
Love her.
I did remember that she is an EOT. She never got the G.
She never got the Grammy.
Yeah. But she was nominated.
Okay. For a Grammy.
Yeah. She for
what? For singing?
No, she did a book on tape. I think she did To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay, I was gonna say it doesn't seem like she would have been in the era of the book on tape, sneaky award for the Grammy.
No, yeah. I feel like that's the daytime Emmy. The book on tape is like the Grammy version of the daytime
100%.
Emmy.
100%. Yes. It's Maureen Stapleton.
Maureen Stapleton.
Excuse me. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to throw out, the screenplay was written by Jeff Steve Harris, who was co-creator of Different Strokes, the sitcom that ran for a very long chunk of time, 8 years. That's the Gary Coleman one.
Oh, Gary Coleman one.
Yes, and the story, it was Bernie Kukoff and Jeff Harris, who were the two credited writers. They created that show. And then was also a story credit by Norman Steinberg, who was a writer on Blazing Saddles.
Oh, really?
And did some writing. Yeah. So the Brooks pedigree sort of thing that we mentioned there is definitely popped in there. And also, it's probably just because it was Fox or whatever, but it's like you get a few of the Brooks players show up. You got Dom DeLuise in there for a day rate, a guy I don't think Dom DeLuise is a good actor, but I enjoy.
But he's funny. He knows how to be funny, and that's kind of.
And we don't have like the equivalent of those guys anymore. Like there's plenty of funny people out there, but I feel like you don't have these actors and actresses who are the like pop in folks on the like this style of comedy doesn't exist first of all, so that's why they don't exist. But it just you had these guys that would be in. It's like it's the screwball comedy. Okay, well here's the list of people you got to get in there.
It's also the in the whole like executification of everything, especially the arts, that like no one is allowed to be amazing at one thing and find their lane.
Right.
Like, you don't get that. You're not allowed to do that anymore. And it's like, well, no, sometimes, like, it's cool if the comedian, like Robin Williams doing 1 hour photo was a one-off. Like, it should be, they get a one-off to do a thing, but let them stay in their lane. Let them be the funny or the romantic or the whatever. Right. Like, come on.
Right. I think a lot of that is actors themselves not wanting to be stuck in the spots anymore. But, you know, there's just not
it's also like,
there's not a career lane.
Movies have to have everything. Like, your action movie has to have every other quip jammed in there. Like,
I mean, the only this is getting a little better now, but basically the only comedies that have been made since the Apatow factory shut its doors are like big action movies that are also kind of funny. Mm-hmm. Like the biggest comedy star of the last decade is like Kevin Hart in a movie with The Rock.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, it's not like there was a Kevin Hart movie. I guess it's maybe a little better now or whatever. And maybe he's canceled. I don't know. But just like Kevin Hart is a funny person who only got to make comedies if he was standing next to The Rock, who got to do a lot of jokes too.
Yes. Because again, The Rock has to also be funny. Everyone has to be funny.
Right.
Although they are coming out with what looks like a straight up comedy that looks decent with Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell.
Oh, I saw the thumbnail for that and assumed it was bad, but it's watching
the trailer seems decent. I mean, obviously it's okay. You know, whatever, but like I'm like, oh, this looks like an actual straight up comedy with two people who know how to do funny. It's okay. Their children are getting married and the venue double booked them.
Oh, I did watch that trailer.
There's like a gator at one point, I think.
Yeah. It looks like a big box comedy. Yeah, it's I mean, we could have we could do a whole.
That could be a Patreon.
Like, yeah, just like talking about movie business in a way that how it's perplexing to us. But I forget who said this at the Oscars, but basically, instead of making one $200 million movie, make 20 $10 million movies or 10 20
Well, no, people said that about J-Lo with her stupid $200 million movie that is awful. They were like, you could have done a lot more with this.
Right. But there's just like nobody's investing in the bench, and there's nobody like trying to do different stuff. Blumhouse is the exception, and Blumhouse
and even A24 probably.
A24 definitely is like one of the few places, but they don't. They do awardsy dramas generally. They do a little bit outside that
or horror.
Horror they do. Yeah, but they like wasn't Civil War A24 that just came out.
I think it was, but A24 was also Hereditary and.
Yeah,
I feel like that they do horror or drama or both. Right.
They seem to have leaned into horror to build up a nest egg to be able to do other stuff, which makes total sense to me. But I'm dying for Jason Blum to just open like Blumhouse comedy and just like take the same formula you do and have some comedy people there.
Yeah, here for it.
It's just not that fucking hard. Like you could make a $4 million comedy that like one of them will make $200 million. I promise. Just make 10 of them. One of them will hit.
Yeah, but. Executives, if I can't buy 4 more yachts, well, then what are we even doing here?
Well, I mean, this is generally a problem in our overall society is like no one is satisfied with doubles, singles, and occasional triples. Like everybody wants to hit only home runs and grand slams. And when you build your whole enterprise that way, it makes everything flatter. And I think worse. Maybe other people disagree.
Oh, I agree. It makes it worse.
Yeah. So, more
studies show kids love love talking dogs. Put one in your movie.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, I don't want there to not be blockbusters. I just also want other I would say, what's been really shocking to me is like the rom-com is kind of making a comeback.
It is.
Which has been very interesting. There's been a bunch of them. Now, mind you, they're all rom-coms where people go to very expensive exotic locations.
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan got to stand on the cliffs of Moher and whatever.
I mean, but like, what's that? Anyone But You, which is just like your classic two hot people in a beautiful
that movie makes me irrationally. Wait, no, is Anyone But You the one with Anne Hathaway, or is that the one with Sydney Sweeney?
No, that's Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell.
Okay, Glenn Powell, who apparently was like, I won't do. He said I would never do Oscar bait or a Marvel movie, and I'm like, but you're doing Twisters and Top Gun Maverick.
I think Twisters looks like cheeseball fun. Twister seems to understand that they're making a sequel to Twister.
I hope so.
Anyway, let's talk about.
And hey, it'll be easier to make it this time around because no actors are ever actually on set together.
That's true. It's just a bunch of people in different closets of their house that are wrapped in green. Foam.
That one is Helen Hunt, right? That one's Twister. Because Holly Hunter is Mrs. Incredible.
It's not Holly.
So it's
Hunter.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah, it's Helen Hunt. Yeah, Holly Hunter, who's going to be on Star Trek now. Very exciting.
Leave the research and Twisters to the man? I don't think so.
She's exploring space.
Well, I know that. I was
exploring strange new worlds for men only. I don't think so.
Leave the captain's log to the man? I don't think so.
That's Janeway Erasure. We both are aware that there has been a captain on a Star Trek show. We're aware. You can save the tweets.
Because she also was on an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Wait, as Janeway?
No. The actress. I don't remember her name offhand.
Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah, Kate Mulgrew was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Red from
oh shit, yeah, she was Red.
Yeah. Okay, we're 30 minutes of rambly here. We gotta talk about this movie. I will say it's tough to talk about the comedies often because I don't want to just like repeat the good jokes.
I know.
And I like I could do 2 hours where I just reread the jokes from this 84-minute movie, which I don't want.
Would have probably just been me in middle school. Feels like.
Yeah. But I will say I love this opening here.
I forgot it had a framing device.
I completely forgot about the framing device. And then the other funny thing is the scene that I remember most vividly happens in minute like 78 of 84. And I was like, I thought that was
which one is it? Which one?
The car sequence.
Oh yeah. So I remember the car and the brother hearing that his brother is Johnny Dangerously.
Oh, okay. But I love, so he's got this tray of food and he's feeding all the animals at the pet store that he owns, and he's giving them he's having long conversations with these animals, which most of which you can't see, and I assume are just like some PA going like, ooh, ah, 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 ah,
yeah,
to help him give something.
Or they played a tape.
Yeah.
Because they showed the establishing of the animals, and then was like, we got the animals for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Get them out.
Yes. Yeah, and better for them. I don't need these animals spending a whole day on a hot set. It's fine. But I love that he takes a bite of a milk bone to like prove that it's good before he gives it to the one dog. And then my other favorite of these is like, I know you ordered the tuna, but I didn't think it looked very good. So what I got you here instead is some salmon, which is just such it's such a good waiter bit. Like, it's like, I got you, buddy.
Or even flight attendant.
Yeah. It just felt very real. It felt like a real sentence that was said to Michael Keaton at one point in his life that just stuck with him and then got pulled out for things.
I can see that.
So he thwarts a dog theft from a young boy here, and this is what like launches into this is what establishes like, oh, we're in the framing device, and I like right away they establish what kind of movie you're going to be watching. Because one, the kid tried to put a dog under his coat and steal it.
And lights went off when he left.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. There's like a theft tag that Michael Keaton had invented to print this. But then as he starts telling the boy this story, we get the classic like wavy line flashback that we all know and love from movies and television, and both Keaton and the kid talk about what's happening around them as if it is literally the air shimmering.
And he says the only way to emigrate was to walk around outside for several hours wearing a hat. So,
it was a law passed that you had to spend 4 hours a day out of your apartment walking around.
Which is a brilliant joke on the fact that every fucking period piece, it's just like everyone's outside at all times.
It's just B-roll of jam-packed streets. Honestly, though, like the real truth of the matter is probably like these places were poorly ventilated, and so it was probably hot as hell in the summer.
Oh, you're right.
And unpleasant to be in. Now, in the wintertime, you want to be inside and not in the elements, but in the summertime, it's like, shit, it's hot in here. Let's go walk around.
Yeah. Go visit Grandma and hang out in her fur coat.
Uh-huh. And I love this this bit here. We're introduced to Mama, and we're introduced to Michael Keaton, and she's like, she walks up to him on the corner. He's hawking newspapers, and she's like, "This is the worst July in years." And there's a good 6 inches of snow on the ground.
Yes.
It just in like 3 or 4 minutes, it's very much like, hey, here's the space we're gonna play in. You either want to hang out here.
There's the door. If this is not for you.
Yeah. It's like, I think that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I wish all movies did this. It would save me a lot of trouble to like get 35 minutes into something and be like, oh, I wish this was something else. But at this point, I've been here for half of a runtime. I might as well finish.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Peter Boyle gets introduced here after Keaton gets into a tussle with
not Keaton, Baby Keaton.
Baby Keaton, yeah, who will be very soon played by Joe Piscopo. And he says, hey, I like your style. Why don't you come make some money with me? And Keaton's like, the baby Keaton is like, gee, mister, I can't break the law to break my mama's heart.
Yeah.
So we cut upstairs, and I guess that is Hot Fuzzy. We have this running gag with this doctor who is always coming out.
I was waiting for it to be like that he was making these up, or that the mom was a true hypochondriac, but like, no, she just earnestly has a lot of medical issues.
She always has some problem that needs to be addressed. The first one here, I forget what the operation is, but it's $49.95
this week only.
The price of it. Yeah. And starting this runner of this doctor who will always be exiting the apartment, always having a specific malady that he can fix, and quoting a price to Keaton.
He also goes up the stairs, and we keep cutting to him on different stairwells, and like at one point there's men like breathing into paper bags, and then we see he's only on the 4th floor of the building.
Yeah. Very good. This is a very fun, silly movie. If you don't like silly, you would hate this, but I think it's
delightful.
On that note, actually, I was just texting you about this off pod, but I just watched the Treasure of Foggy Mountain, I think it's called, from those 3 guys who do the digital shorts on SNL. I can't remember what the name of their group is, but they're the ones people were making fun of for being nepo babies. They're
Who are they?
One of them is the son of the announcer on Jimmy Fallon, who's been a writer on SNL for like 25 years or more. What the hell is that name?
That's fine.
Man, my brain is just trash. Anyway, 2 of them are the sons of SNL writers who are now performers, and then the third one is not. But that movie has a lot of the silliness that not quite this flavor, but similar to a lot of stuff we watched as kids.
Okay.
So if there are other fellow silly enjoyers out there, you might
silly men.
Out of it. Yeah.
Ma Kelly points to the photo of their father dressed as the Hamburglar in the electric chair.
Yes. He always wanted you to be a lawyer. God knows he could have used one. And then I think my favorite joke of the movie, which is Mama saying, I'm 29 now. And clearly this actress is like 60 years old.
I hope I make it to 30.
Yeah. Just magnificently silly. So Johnny realizes he's got to make some money to help pay for this operation. So he does decide to take Peter Boyle up on his offer. And Peter Boyle had said, hey, if you change your mind, here's where to find me. And he opens the door and we get, is it like 2 minutes? It feels
like a nod loop.
Minutes. Yes, of people doing like nod or a wink or a chin lift or whatever it is, just to one another around and around and around and around and around until Peter Boyle finally snaps and is like, just let the kid in.
Yeah, it's like in Rocky Horror when they get in the loop of saying each other's names with the crash zoom.
Yeah. There was a speaking of Star Trek again. There's a GIF I remember from the early days of the internet that just got perfectly looped, where it was Spock, Shatner, Kirk, Spock, and Bones all nodding at each other, but it looped perfectly, so it could just.
You didn't know when it ended when it started.
Exactly. Yes. So it was clearly like the 3 of them doing some little signal in the show that was probably 10 seconds, but looped perfectly. It could just run indefinitely.
I think they made fun of that on Futurama too in the Star Trek episode.
I think you're right. Yep, I think you're right. So they hatch this plan that they're gonna rob one of the other gangs in town, and so they use Johnny to be the smuggler of guns. He's gonna bring them all newspapers, and inside the newspapers are their guns because they're gonna get searched when they go to this place, which is a clever little.
That's really clever. And we meet Maroney, who doesn't actually swear, but just gets very close to it. A lot of malapropisms.
Fargin bastages.
Cork suckers. Yes. Ice holes.
Yeah.
Dad said Fargan, right?
Dad was quoting Fargan passages all the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think Dad also liked this movie. I just remember Mom and our brother talking about it more. But the other thing I was remembering was he calls them cork suckers, but SNL had a sketch that was soak cork. He likes to soak the cork.
Oh yeah, yes. Okay.
Yeah. And it was, I just remember being like, oh, so they were just doing this 12-year-old or more joke then?
Oh yeah. We
get some good slapstick havoc here, some real Buster Keaton-y type stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, or Singing in the Rain, Make 'em Laugh.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The child actor for Johnny Dangerously is doing flippy dippies and swinging on things.
He does a bunch of like gymnastics moves, kind of like the daughter of Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park 2.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Remember, she kills a velociraptor, if you recall.
She uneven bars a velociraptor.
Yeah. He does like basically that with the handrail of this restaurant. He kicks a guy, he knocks this guy over. My favorite being the one at the end when he puts a bucket on his head and slides down the bar like a missile.
to hit Maroney.
Yeah. Which I've decided I want to add to the list of things I would love to do in a movie. So we have, guy with a head wound, head bandage, guy that gets squished by the giant monster or, detritus off the giant monster. And I want to add guy in bar fight who gets
slid down the bar.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take guy in bar fight, but if I get to be, if I get to put my light on a high shelf, that's where it's going. Yeah. I want to get grabbed by the lapels and then all the way down a bar. There's actually a great sequence in The Fall Guy, which I just saw, where they're showing the sort of falling in love bit with Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, who plays the stuntman in that. And they're drinking. They're at the cast party and they're drinking, and then it's like montage, and then there's a box in front of them that's like props department, do not touch, and it's all the glass bottles.
Oh, don't tempt.
And they start just doing each other over the head with them. And I was just like, you bastard.
I would love that.
I agree.
If they weren't so expensive, I would just like...
They're crazy expensive.
I know. I mean, I could make a pane of glass to do it with, but like, it's not the same as a bottle.
It's not as much fun. No. I remember that there was some like super indie film thing that like showed you how to make...
Yeah, it was Backyard Effects.
Yeah, but they just looked janky. Like, they weren't quite right.
Yeah, they weren't 100% there.
But this is where he dubs himself Johnny Dangerously, where he gets the nickname that will follow him for the rest of his life in this movie. And we cut back to him telling the story in the pet store.
While he's price gunning the sticker.
The puppies are, just... with the old school price gun spitting out the sticker.
With the sticker. I love it.
Too good. And the other detail that's great in this that just like adds the comedy is the empty part. It's like the stickers come on a roll and the empty part of the stickers is like dragging on the floor. So it's as if he's been doing this for hours that he's price gunning the puppies.
Yes.
Really good.
So this is where it's Michael Keaton playing what I think we're supposed to assume is like a teenager version.
He actually says I was a teenager then.
Okay.
And then he's.
It's very much like Reefer Madness, where it's like, you're all 30, but it's fine. In the way we accept it.
Yeah.
His mother has more health problems, so he has to join the gang.
He does a bunch of breakdancing as well.
Oh, yes, he does. There's a great montage of the mobsters, including... He's like, for Christmas, we gave back to the community. And they're all in an Art Deco office in Santa hats and pinstripe suits, wrapping up stacks of money with wrapping paper.
Literal bundles of money, yeah. So we kind of like age him up throughout this montage. He, becomes an adult. And he's become, this very infamous gangster that everybody knows. But the only person who doesn't know who he is his mama and
his brother.
Make sure and his brother, and he's got to make sure everybody in town helps keep the secret. So he's walking in his old neighborhood, and a little kid dressed exactly like him pops up and is like, "Johnny Dangerously, can I be like you when I grow up?" And he's glad handing with everybody.
Someone's selling "I Love Johnny" t-shirts on the corner.
Yeah, and it's like, now remember, guys, I'm Johnny Kelly when I'm here.
Well, he says, this old lady yells Johnny Dangerously from a window, and he's like, all right, everybody come on. And she jumps out the window and fireman pulls down the, gutter pipe.
Yeah.
And they all in unison are like, You're just Johnny Kelly, law-abiding nightclub owner. You're not the dangerous criminal Johnny Dangerously.
It is exactly long enough.
It's the Muppets.
Delightful. Yeah. Meanwhile, Dom DeLuise shows up as the Pope.
Because someone goes, and I'm a friggin' Pope. And everyone goes, and it is the Pope.
Yeah, and so Johnny he pulls out a wad of cash, pulls 2 bills off the outside, hands him the wad, and he's like, build yourself a new church. And Dom DeLuise clearly puts the other hand out of yeah, I want those.
The other 2 bills are good too.
And he just shrugs and hands them over. It's just delightful. Perfect little bit. Mama is cooking noodles and beer.
Which I bet there's not just boiling beer, but I bet there's a beer soup, beer cheese soup. I bet is a thing.
Yeah, I don't think there's noodles in that traditionally, but
no.
Sure.
But I just mean
there's certainly dishes you could cook that would have these 2 things, but this is just a glass of beer boiling, a
bottle of beer,
boiling cauldron. Well, he takes out a ladle and scoops them into a beer glass, and so it's just boiled beer with noodles in it.
That's not. I bet that was a thing in the Middle Ages. With mead and shit.
Maybe,
hot beer.
Maybe. If
mead.
You boil the he was like, what are you cooking? And she says beer. I thought she was
making beer
because it's prohibition times.
Right.
And I thought that was going to be the bit that Mama is a small time bootlegger, but no, she's cooking noodles.
I would not be mad about the version of Johnny Dangerously where Mama is they're all in on it.
Yeah.
It's a real mom and pop operation.
Absolutely. We introduced a little brother who's played by Griffin Dunne, also known as Jack from American Werewolf in London.
Mm-hmm. The one who does not get werewolfed.
No, the one who gets werewolfed.
No, Jack does.
Well, first of all, they both get werewolfed.
Well, no, I meant turned into a werewolf.
I mean, again, they both get turned into. Oh no, he doesn't.
Jack,
he gets eaten.
Jack gets eaten.
Okay, but he then shows up as a zombie.
Yeah, as a zombie, but he's the one who does not get werewolfed.
That is correct. Yes, I'm sorry. I was like, to be clear, both people in that movie get attacked.
They get attacked, but
so he's met this girl and he wants to drop out of law school to get married immediately, and he won't talk about it in front of Mama, and Keaton's like, don't worry, I'll straighten this out, Mama, I'll fix it. And then Keaton walks away and we immediately cut to Mama going, I know what this is. You want to hump your brains?
You want to get laid. Which I guess I was like, well, why does the brother think he has to? Why does he have to get married
Johnny
first?
Doesn't have this problem.
Johnny doesn't. Mama doesn't have this problem.
Yeah, clearly.
And his wife gets 3 lines of dialogue in the whole movie, so who knows what she's contributing to this conversation?
Yeah. So perhaps because at the wedding he says to her, "I'm glad we waited."
Yeah, and then he goes, "I'm going to drop out of law school so I can support her," and it's like, hey, I think you missed a step. I think if you finish law school, you can support her.
Yeah, much more easily and at a higher wage. We go to the nightclub, and this is where we meet Mary Lou Henner, who, by the way, I don't know if you know this about her, the real person, not the character here. She has she has that thing where she remembers every moment of her entire life.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that's called again.
It's
a complete memory function.
I think so, yeah. No, it's not. It's beyond photographic.
Right. You can give her any date and she can tell you exactly where she was, and often remembers events that confirm that she's correct.
Yeah. I never knew that about her.
Yeah, she my whole life is podcast, but my brother and me podcast did an episode where they made friends with Jimmy Buffett.
Oh,
right?
I think I did hear about this now.
And they did red carpet, and they interviewed her on the red carpet, and she was a super good sport about it. And then later she came on their show and did a guest spot. But she has a great vibe, Mary Lou Henner.
I bet. All the showgirls are throwing themselves at Johnny, but Mary Lou Henner isn't.
Including scheduling themselves as to when they can have sex with him in front of each other, which I think is just...
They're all chill. They're all modern women.
No, it's great. It's well, I got Tuesday or Thursday open. Oh, how about I could do Wednesday? It's just all of them very clearly being all right, we'll just get on the calendar.
Yeah. Mary Lou Henner not into it, or trying not to be. And I love this line. He says, what do they call you? And she goes, impressive. I'm using that. I'm taking that. I'm stealing it, and I'm using it.
She's good. he goes up to meet with the other gangsters. This is where we learn that Joe Piscopo's
I became something. I became a real scumbag.
He's all moon-eyed, and all the guys are like, "Oh, you met the new girl, huh?" Meanwhile, Joe Piscopo, Danny Verman, is joining the gang, and he pulls out just
the Joker's gun.
Real comically, yeah. It's not a 44 Magnum; it's an 88 Magnum.
And then a shooting robot gets delivered.
Yeah. They open the crate, and Keaton just like ducks around the side of it, and all of them don't really move, but somehow
they duck out. They duck behind furniture.
Yeah, but it's just funny that Keaton is like, I'm going to open this and dive out of the way, and he isn't like, hey, everybody get out of the way first.
Because it's like in the Child's Play movies when someone gets a 4-foot by 2-foot package, and it's like, yeah, oh, I wonder what that is. Gee, I wonder.
Yeah,
this is a 6-foot by 4-foot package.
Yeah, it's larger than a coffin,
and the robot looks like a heart beeps.
Yeah, it does look like heart beeps. Oh man, I was like the whole time looking at this, I'm like, this is so familiar, and I can't put my finger on it.
I don't know which came first, but
yeah. So Johnny, they're deciding how to get their revenge for this, and Johnny says, "Oh, I'll do something subtle," and we smash cut.
Wait, no, you can't gloss over the first occurrence of Danny Verman's recurring joke.
Oh yes, I think Dad does this one as well.
Yeah, this is another dad classic. I don't remember what spurs it this time. I think it's Johnny grabs him, and he says, "You shouldn't put your hands on me. My grandmother put her hands on me once."
With a big finger, you know. The thing I wondered with this is if this is a specific reference to an old gangster movie that is just lost on me here.
Oh, the once thing?
Yeah.
It very well could be that, like, Joe Labargo's signature line in all of his gangster movies was, you get one, or whatever.
Yeah. So he says, I'll do something subtle, and we smash cut to him in a biplane dropping a bomb out.
Like the Red fucking Baron.
Yeah, it's straight out of the Bugs Bunny era Looney Tunes stuff of just like...
Or the Muppets. Like, I can definitely see, like, Miss Piggy.
And it's full cartoon because the bomb falls within 3 feet of the Farragon Bastages guy and doesn't kill
their
him.
face.
It just turns into...
Their faces are all covered in soot and their clothes are all tattered.
Yep. But, like, no injuries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. This is where Tommy legit does just want to drop out of law school to get laid, which, again, like, I don't know who's imposing this on you, Tommy.
Yeah, no one seems to be. And then Keaton pulls down a projector screen, and we get a truly hysterical...
I didn't remember this at first.
Me either. I didn't remember this at all, even watching it, but it's called Your Testicles and You. And it's an
educational film.
Yes. And all these men are walking around with like 2 beach balls in their hands, like,
it's
groaning,
so funny,
and, like, holding them. It's so silly looking. And then like the institute where they test this has these 2 enormous like beach ball sized iron balls out front of it. Like, it doesn't look like, it's not graphic, but it's absurd. And then just the classic old school film strip medical thing of like, dun, 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 dun,
here's the
your
cartoon.
Testicles and you. Yeah.
And here's a cartoon that we probably commissioned Disney to make and no one talked about.
Yeah. I literally wrote down, this is amazing. I didn't remember it at all.
Didn't remember this.
So good. Yeah. This is like, it got me bark laughing several times, which was just like
delightful.
Especially after the last 2 movies we watched for the podcast.
Oh, breath of fresh air.
A triple scoop ice cream cone to a starving, sweaty man.
So, of course, Tommy goes right back to law school.
He like runs out of there, so afraid of this.
Johnny goes,
and the funny thing too is, according to this film strip, using them makes them.
Yeah, that's what's confusing. If you use them too much.
Yeah. You would think this would be the opposite of like this would be the like, hey kid, you should have sex.
Yeah, the scummy boy like.
Yeah.
Film strip to get girls to have sex with boys.
Yes, exactly that.
So Johnny goes to the club where he's named the successor to Peter Boyle.
We forgot to mention in the big showdown where he got named Johnny Dangerously, he Peter Boyle was saved by his
cigarette
case. Yeah, when he got shot. And so this is like a big thing. He gets handed the cigarette case.
And then Lil, Mary Lou Henner, comes out and sings an amazing song, a great song in a great costume and a great number.
Yeah.
If this would get me tips, which it wouldn't because no one's ever heard of the song, I would do this number.
Yeah. And you know what's great about this?
Original.
There's just one.
Yes.
It's like we do the bit. It's a really well-written song for the bit, and it works out just fine. And we don't do 3 of them to diminishing returns. We just do one.
What are you referencing? Are you referencing a specific movie?
I just feel like so many times it's like, well, what's this character get to do? Well, she sings a song. Okay, well then we'll just keep doing, like, in their three songs in
Indiana Jones.
We just watched it. Nope, we just watched it. It was a movie I enjoyed quite a bit. Action Jackson has 3 songs.
Oh, you're right. We hear that.
And it was just like just the one is good. It's fine. I mean, those weren't comedy bits, but it still took away from. It was still unnecessary to have multiple songs.
Yeah. Although I will say, I thought there was. My brain was like, I bet there's going to be a song in the prison at the end. But then I think my brain was just conflating Paddington 2, which does have a song in it. Have songs in it, right?
I don't think so.
Is there not a song in the prison in Paddington 2?
Do they sing like a song when they're making the marmalade? Maybe.
My brain says there's a song in that movie.
I don't remember a song in Paddington 2. I think it is a masterpiece.
Makes me want to be a better man.
People think I'm joking when I say this. That movie is like, I think truly it's a masterpiece.
It is.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Paddington 2 is Hugh Grant. Paddington 1 is AMC theaters, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the Godfather 2 of children's films. It's like it took a movie that was already good and got better, which doesn't happen very often.
It did.
Lovely goofball sequence here where they start having like a little stroll together.
You sure can banter.
And she says, "That's why I left Pittsburgh and came to Chicago." And he's like, "But you're not in Chicago.
Well,
you're in New York."
He pauses before he says that because I was like, wait a minute, what? I thought we were in New York.
Yeah. And then they walk and walk and walk and they end up in like a big field. And
the field from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. I was going to say The Sound of Music.
That too.
The hills are alive. And it's just like, he's like, where the hell are we? It's just cartoony shit. It's just perfect.
They kiss and there's fireworks. And then we cut to Peter Boyle seeing fireworks going, sounds like Johnny's getting laid.
Yeah. So we fast forward to them dating, and Keaton is like commuting to work, and she's like, "Now be careful." And he says, "Oh, there's no bullet with my name on it." And I thought this was going to lead to
a literal bullet with his name on it.
Yes.
I thought
like lands next to him and doesn't kill him.
I thought it was going to get shot into a building next to him, and it was going to say
and it's got a flag on it.
Or they were going to spell out like Johnny Dangerously.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what I feel like that's what a lot of old crimes were just like. Hey, that's my name. There was no forensics evidence.
Like that Mulaney joke of like, seems like the killer got cut and bled all over the crime scene.
Gross.
Better clean that up.
It was me and Joe and the Scuggins gang.
Yeah.
But
there's a whole section in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in which one of the members of the gang, nicknamed News, reads the news clips describing the gang's activities to the group. That is like News's job in the gang is to collect the clips.
He's the Sigourney Weaver.
Right. And well, he's the only one who can read, so he reads to everyone.
This whole sequence felt again very much like a theme park ride of Johnny tippy tapping while sparks fly at his feet.
Yeah.
Everyone he sees has a gun.
I loved, in particular, that the woman looks like a mannequin, and then he like does a kind of hot cock the head, like, is that a? And then she shoots out.
She smashes the glass. Yeah.
And then that's followed by an even more silly one in which a lady is pushing a baby carriage, and he's like, "Lady, look out! It's dangerous!" And inside the carriage is a little person with a machine gun.
It's so good,
magnificent.
So he goes into Peter Boyle's building, where a fake plumber has made a toilet bomb.
Yes. I was waiting for Mel Gibson and Danny Glover to show.
And again, literally Peter Boyle walks into the bathroom flushes the toilet, it explodes, and then he comes out holding the chain pull. Again, soot face, clothes tattered, not dead.
Yeah. My dork is in my hand. No, boss, that's not your dork. And he touches himself with the other hand. So he makes Johnny the head of the gang.
Oh, this is where he gives Johnny the cigarette case.
Yeah, you're right. And then we cut to the newspaper.
We've been getting there's a lot of newspaper wipes in this movie, and I really like them. They're very effective.
Yeah. And the one of this that I really delight in is it's like Johnny Dangerously. Still, no one knows who he is, and it's a sketch of Sylvester. But what's great about this is later we see all the media talking to Johnny, and they all clearly know him. And the reporters, or the photographers rather, are like, "Are you going to let us take your picture this time?" And he's like, "All right, sure." And so clearly, like, they didn't need to have a bad sketch because they all know what he looks like. He's holding press.
Well, I think it's kind of a Peter Parker situation. Like,
oh, sure.
I think
he's like, I know Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah.
I'm Johnny Safely.
I'm Jimmy Safeway. Like, I think there's people at the Bugle that are like, Peter Parker Spider-Man, right?
And there are people are like, no, you're crazy. Who could possibly be that?
But then there's the two people like they turn the Xerox machine on to do like 100 copies, so it goes there, and I was like, you definitely think that, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
They go in the bathroom and turn
all the faucets on.
Like, it's definitely that kid, right? It doesn't make any sense. How does he get so close to him if he's not Spider-Man?
Truly. How did he get these angles?
That is particularly a part of like the greater Spider-Man mythos I find hilarious, of like Peter Parker not only is Spider-Man, but he is also webbing, like,
directly benefiting from Spider-Man.
Right, but like, so okay, here's the scenario. It's like, hey, tonight at the docks, they're gonna bring in a shipment of stolen crates of AK-47s, and so Peter Parker, as Spider-Man, goes like ding 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 ding, and goes in to stop the crime. But before he stops the crime,
he sets up his ring light.
Yeah. He spends an hour in this warehouse. They're like, all right, it goes down at 6. So he shows up at 5 o'clock and he's just putting cameras everywhere. Like,
all on different alternating timers.
Yeah. And mind you, not cameras to like record the crime for, stopping it. No, I'm going to beat them all up and prove that I beat them up.
I'm going to take pictures of myself.
Kind of a sociopath.
Yeah. I feel like he's the only superhero, maybe Iron Man, that like, because people know who Iron Man is, that like directly financially benefits from his superhero self.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very rare that any of the superheroes figure out that, like, Batman doesn't, I mean, he doesn't need it.
He's got,
but like, they very rarely figure out how to maximize the money on being a superhero. Which
how can I monetize this?
Need the money. Yeah. I feel like they could make a Spider-Man movie that touches on this that would be entertaining, but they don't really do the Daily Bugle angle of Spider-Man in the.
No, that would be fun though, or like make it a mini series.
Mm-hmm. But I was playing the Spider-Man game, and there's like a one of the
newest one.
Is like you take one of the two PlayStation ones. I played them both in succession, so I forget what this was in. But you can like take pictures of certain things around the city for like bonus points or whatever, and that's what made me think of it. Is like, it'd be very funny if there was an aspect of this game is like, all right, you got to stop the carjacking, but also you have to get pictures.
You have to mug for the camera.
Yeah. We cut back to Keaton telling the story, and he's polishing the turtles,
which is that's so brilliantly stupid.
Yeah, all of the bits of business he does in the pet store while telling this story are so delightful.
Tommy's now graduating from law school, and Ma has a purse full of hilarious junk like meat, like a slab of like a lamb roast or something.
And then she's like, I can't find my camera. And I'm like, how does this lady have a camera? And then we find out it's not. It's just a very elaborate flask.
It's a flask. It's great. And Johnny goes, hey, Tommy, here's the business card for a law firm. And Tommy goes, no, I'm joining the DA. I'm going to fight crime. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, it practically does like a Bugs Bunny, like, turn the camera like, oh, no.
Oh, actually, you know what? I was thinking Daredevil's a lawyer, so he might make money off.
Daredevil is a lawyer, but I don't know that Daredevil's daredeviling is what makes him money.
That's true. He's not lawyering against, like, for Daredevil people.
Right. Like he doesn't
like stop a crime and then represent the person who was crimed.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Which that would be like a great like the Boys character. Like someone who's unscrupulous, like does the injuring and then represents the people.
Yeah. Or just like the Peter Parker thing of like putting up GoPros all over the place to record them so that they can get famous and then become a member of the Seven.
Yeah,
would be a funny thing.
I like that too.
That show is so disgusting.
I fell off after the first season, and you know why I fell off, because without my favorite.
She does have a couple of scenes in season 2.
Oh, maybe I will watch. I don't know. She's my absolute favorite, and I was very disappointed when
there are a couple of scenes in season 2 in which Homelander pays a shapeshifter to be her.
Of course he does.
She is actually there.
Okay, I'll take that.
But yeah, that show has at least one thing per season that is just unbelievably disgusting.
Yeah. I was in season 2.
Tell you, remind me when we are off mic at the end to recount it for you, because it is too gross to tell on the podcast.
I saw season 1, so I did see it. Whatever, if it was season 1,
I assure you, the thing that I'm talking about is 10 times grosser than the scene in season 1 where the girl gets obliterated,
or the guy gets the invisible man gets exploded from the inside.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of what happens. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, is it the Ant-Man thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which apparently they reference on the Disney Cruise Line.
Ant-Man going inside Thanos' butt?
Yes.
It's on the Disney Cruise Line.
It's Ant-Man and the Wasp are like they do a video in the Marvel restaurant because it's all PIM, so everything's different, wacky sizes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And I saw the clip, unless it was like a real good deep fake of like Paul Rudd being like, now I know that you all have this idea of why didn't I do this thing during Infinity War to defeat Thanos where I go really small, and then the Wasp is like, I don't think you need to finish that sentence.
That's great.
Or something to that effect, I swear.
Okay. So the brother catches Maroni, who is the Fargan Bastages.
Well, because
up until now,
Tommy's so Pollyanna. He's like, I'm going to fight crime when like everyone else in the office is on payroll and looking the other way.
Yeah. So he catches Maroni, and Danny DeVito is his boss, and
Tommy has a meteoric rise as an ADA.
And then we cut to the gang of Keaton's people, and they're all going around talking about how they're ashamed to admit that they're criminals now.
Yes.
And I think Piscopo says that he told somebody that he was
a male nurse.
A male nurse. That's what I was going to say. It's not a doctor. Okay. And they end up having a bit of a squabble, and he picks up Piscopo and hangs him on the back of the door.
He also says that
back of the door.
What other gang has a dental plan? Which,
yes, yeah.
As a kid, again, I didn't know, but that joke is in so many things.
Yes.
About like, well, at least they have dental. And like,
I think it's probably, I do truly wonder, I have no idea if that was like a recently won WGA perk or something.
It could be, yeah, because I know it's in Shrek. It's definitely in Shrek.
Yeah.
So Johnny hangs Danny Vermin on a hook behind the door, and we get another once, and Johnny goes like, all right, and opens the door.
And then everybody files out, and he comes back around on the back of the door. That little extra of him swinging back over is
so funny.
DeVito and Griffin Dunn, the brother, they meet up, and this is like, again, so Mel Brooksy, where it's like, well, here's the big question: are you gonna play ball? And he hits a switch, and it becomes like a game show in his living room
with all here's the things you could win. Because
you get a boat.
Tommy says he's built a case against Johnny Dangerously, and I was like, yes. I thought no one knew what he looked like, or there's never like no one will talk about what he looks like.
He somehow has a vial of Johnny Dangerously's blood
and hair and everything.
Yeah. Also, he shows him a picture of the apartment that he would have, and I'm like 97% sure it's the art museum in Philadelphia.
Yes, it's just the Philly Art Museum. That's all that is.
That's what I thought.
Which, like, I would love to live in there, but you know,
not really practical as a home, you know.
No, but still, it'd be spooky, probably, actually.
Yeah, and then it's like your wife can have this beautiful mink coat when it's cold, and when it's warm, she can
wear the world's most expensive bra from the from the Guinness Book of World Records in like 2004.
Basically, yeah, and she drops the robe and she's wearing like this diamond bikini.
He won't play ball.
That's a very good deep cut that I remember.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say there's a handful of people out there that will understand that reference.
Three people get the reference, but.
So he's like, I won't play ball, and he runs out of the room. DeVito calls Danny Verman, who pretends to be Johnny Dangerously, and orders a hit. And DeVito's like, oh, I've already done that. And it's like, well, okay.
You went a little bit rogue there, Mr. DA.
And so he cut Tommy's brakes, and as Tommy's car speeds up, so does the music on the radio.
Yeah, it's so silly. He's like jamming the brake, and then we see the speedometer creeping higher and higher.
Like, I'm surprised the speedometer like didn't hit a point where it just said slow down.
Yeah.
Or like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, whoa, buddy. Yeah. The car flips over like 100 times. It's not a great model shot, but it works for this movie.
Yeah, exactly. It knows what it is.
And we cut to the hospital, and there are two guys next to each other in full body casts. Like, one has one hand free, the other might have a foot free. And the Mama and Keaton and not Mary Lou Henner, it's
his girlfriend.
Brother's girlfriend.
Yeah. Wife.
Are there.
Oh, almost wife.
Right,
almost wife.
Yeah, they haven't got married yet. And Mama grabs a pen and writes Tommy on the face of the cast.
In case they move him. And when she says, oh, his brakes failed, Johnny's like, oh, I know what happened here. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And so he...
Also, in this little dinner scene here with Johnny and Danny DeVito kind of propositions him, and it's not played in like a ew gross way, which I was pretty shocked by.
Wait, like sexually?
It's like very, very subtle, but he says something about like, maybe you and I should go away together for a while.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right.
And he's kind of like licking his chops when he says it.
Yeah. He gives DeVito a bright red smoking jacket.
I think this is my favorite scene in the movie because I did not remember this one.
It's delightful. Well, apparently it's a reference to a liquor or something, which did you have the sign for?
So I had a Schlitz malt liquor sign that had a bull.
So
I don't know if that's what this
that is, because he says it's a malt liquor.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
But he's like doing the thing when you get something out of a bag and you kind of flick it a couple times to get like the wrinkles out. So he's flicking this bright red jacket, and a real bull crashes through a real wall. Nowadays it would be stupid CGI.
Yeah. It honestly, and then we cut to the newsstand and it says DA killed in advertisement
or commercial.
Commercial, yeah.
Which now makes sense. The Schlitz with the bull.
There was an opening of one of the Jackass movies that was basically this. They had a bunch of fake houses and prop stuff, and then they just let a bunch of bulls loose, and the guys all ran away from the bulls. And the bulls just like destroyed everything and the guys.
Well, yeah.
And they filmed it at like 2,400 frames per second, so that you just watch them get like flown all over the place.
I'm picturing there being like blood spray, like when in a boxing movie when someone gets punched in the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they got punctured and beat up. Johnny Knoxville had to retire from doing the bull bits because it gave him too many concussions.
I wonder if being friends with Bam and Johnny Knoxville is like considered a pre-existing condition in America.
I mean, it's gotta be.
Or it was 20 years ago. Like, insurance companies are like, hang on, who are you friends with again?
Sir, is this a picture of you and one Jonathan Knoxville?
We cannot insure you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, not allowed. Like, no, that was just a premiere. Sure. Also, this is completely useless and stupid, but it made me think of it. I eventually sold that Schlitz malt liquor sign, and I think I had it up on Facebook Marketplace for like, I don't know, like $150, whatever I'd found it was worth on eBay. Say $150.
Yeah,
I had it up there for that much
because it still works.
Not get that amount. Yeah. Dad actually fixed it so that he found a light bulb for it and fixed it so that it worked. So it was functional. And I had it up there, and this guy kept messaging me and then like offering me a preposterously
$20.
Like I think he offered me 50, and I was like, no. And he was like, $55. And I was like, no, I am selling it for $150. Like, I'll sell it to you for $130. And he was like, no, like he kept doing it. And I kept being like, no, thanks. And then he would wait a week and then come back to me and like offer me some ridiculously low number and be like, well, yours isn't as nice as this one on eBay. And then I was like, then buy that one. Leave me alone. And then eventually I just started fucking with him. So he threw out a number and I replied to him $500, which was like, more than triple the price I had advertised for. And he was like, all right, come on. And he gave me another number and I wrote back like $3,722. And he was like, all right, stop. All right, how much do you really want for it? And I just kept adding I just kept picking 4-digit numbers that were like essentially random. 7,199. Like I just kept saying nonsense because I was just like, and he was just like, I guess you're not serious about this. I was like, you're not serious about this. You're offering me like a third of what I'm asking for. Go away.
That's why I only deal in free. I'd say, this is free. It is in this alley. Come get it if you want it. I'm not loading it in your truck. It's in the alley.
The best one I had was I sold some stuff when I moved recently. Nothing for like crazy amounts or anything, but a guy had agreed to buy it for like $80 and then showed up and pulled his wad of money out and tried to negotiate with me. And I saw that he had more than $80.
Rookie mistake, buddy.
And I was like, tell you what, I got change. I'll take that 100 and I'll give you a 20 and we'll be done.
Rookie mistake, mon frere. You only pull out the amount. You say, hey, I have this much.
Yeah.
So
Johnny and Mary Lou Henner have a bit of like a shared daydream. It's almost like the scene in
Tommy's
Little Shop of Horrors.
It is a little bit. Yeah. Tommy's the DA, and we see Johnny's building. And we go past. They go past all the.
Oh yes.
He like walks into the building, and all the mailboxes are
called like Gangster Arms Apartments.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's like Pretty Boy and Pretty Girl Floyd, Al and Susan Capone, and Johnny Dangerously, and then Mrs. Capone comes over for a cup of bullets.
We're all out over here. So they have a little bit of a daydream. It's kind of like, is it Somewhere That's Green?
Yeah, Somewhere That's Green.
Song in Little Shop. Daydream about their life together, and they're like, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go straight, like let's do it for real. So we go to the wedding with the younger brother, and they get married, and then it's like, all right, I'm so glad we waited, but I can't wait anymore. Let's find somewhere. And they just start trying doors in the courthouse to try to go have sex. And they finally find a janitor's closet, and they're 4 or 5 seconds into the act, taking some clothes off, and Joe Piscopo rolls by and is like, I can't believe Johnny Dangerously's brother is the DA. And he hears this and like runs out of the room, like, what did you say? And he goes chasing him down, and her response as he leaves is that it?
Yeah, that's her one line in this movie.
And then the second line is the janitor comes in to put the mop and bucket he has away, and he clearly sees this naked woman and is like, hallelujah.
So the brothers fist fight on the steps of the courthouse,
and they do a callback of a thing they had done previously, which is like inset shots of people in little ovals, like Johnny sort of like having an internal monologue, and they go back and forth, and then the last one is the mama going, Johnny, take a dive. He gets a very light punch from Griffin Dunn, but goes down
like a bag of dirt.
Yeah, and is like, all right, I'll go straight. So he goes to talk to his gangster buddies, and they're all hacking up a lot.
The room is full of smoke as they're all smoking.
Yeah.
And then Johnny looks down the barrel of the camera and goes, hey, kids, don't start smoking. Instead, chew gum.
You did. Stop. Yeah.
And he opens his cigarette case, and it's full of clove gum.
Yeah. So he decides he's going to turn his keys over to the commission. And now it took me like a minute here because I thought they were doing a bit where there was like a crime commission, as in like a government, like crime is a registered, bureau of the government.
You have to register as a gangster.
Yeah. But no, it's like an investigative group.
It says after 5 slip evidence under the door.
Yeah.
The commissioner is dead because Johnny, hey, how about how about a thank you? And the commissioner dies, and he goes, how about me leaving? And then he gets hit on the head and goes, hey, how about me getting knocked out? Thump.
Yeah. And it's Piscopo and his little lackey who we've, seen throughout the movie.
We cut to Johnny getting arrested and giving an impromptu press conference.
Yes, and then he's like, you know what? You can take my picture. And the flashbulbs blind him, and he walks straight into a door.
And the cops, as he says it, the cops start like fixing their hats and their ties and stuff.
Yeah, and he gets blinded and kabongs this door.
They find out that they're brothers, and then all the reporters storm the phone booth to be the first one to call their editor or whatever. Be like, hey. They pull a man off the phone booth and crowd surf him over their shoulders.
Yeah. So the actor's name who keeps getting hit by the bundle of newspapers is Ray Walston, who I forget what I looked him up in, but like a lot of old sci-fi stuff. He gets hit again here. So first he was blind, then he got hit in the head with a bundle of newspapers and he could see. Now he gets hit in the head with a second bundle.
And he can't hear.
Yeah. And then there's a second phone fight where there's a woman making a phone call in a payphone booth, and they yank her out so hard that she floats up in the air.
I'm sure that falls on his crash pad.
Yes.
The vermin says something quippy to Tommy, and Tommy gives another weak punch, and then Ma Kelly's like, Johnny taught me this, and then kicks him right in the nuts.
Right in the balls. Yeah, just a great knee to the nuts, which hey, makes sense.
Yeah.
And Johnny had been like, it wasn't me. Whoever did this has my cigarette case. It's the only one in the city with a bullet dent that smells like gum.
And he finds it.
Yeah. Piscopo has it.
So Ma Kelly knocks out Tommy.
Yep. Yeah. You put your brother away. We are in the prison now, and we're getting a tour for Michael Keaton, and we get Joe Flaherty. A little one-off role. R.I.P. By the way, died April 1st.
Did he? Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
And Johnny's. I
feel like he's one of the running bits of the podcast for a very long time.
I think so.
Culminated with finally watching Kids Save the Video on the Patreon.
Johnny's prison jumpsuit is an actual suit made of the hamburger material.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. And we get the third beat with Ray Walston as the news agent. This time when he gets hit, he's like, oh, I can hear and I can see.
But who am I? Lil visits Johnny in prison and says Vermin's going crazy. He was coming after me, and Johnny's like, hey, lean into it and figure and let's find a way to pin the murders on him. Well, I guess he did it, so it's not really pinning, but
get the evidence. Meanwhile, we find out about the washerwoman that they had bribed to be like, hey, go find Johnny in there with the DA. So Mama Kelly goes to this woman and appeals to her greater senses, and then the woman had previously asked for $17,000. This time when Mama Kelly asks how much it would be to testify, she says $19,500, which she just hands over immediately, and the lady's like, oh, it's my lucky year.
Am I having a good year or what?
So at this point I was like, when is this car scene happening? Because we're 74 minutes into this movie.
There's not a lot left.
I didn't know at the time. I was like, oh, the movie says it's 92 minutes or whatever, but it's really 84. And if you cut out the beginning, I bet it's closer to 80.
Yeah. So Tommy goes to serve the subpoena to Vermin and fights with Lil, who's there on his lap. And then we get the classic perfect timed exposition radio. He's like, well, how do you know where Tommy's going to be? He goes, easy. And he turns on the radio. It's like, the DA will be with the governor watching this movie. Click. Well, which theater? Click. The one on 34th Street.
Yes, it's so good that they go back to it. It's like the latest James Cagney movie, I think.
Yes.
The gangster stuff.
And then we got to Lil holding the bird. That's been a through line in the movie, giving the
and in the wraparound too.
Yes.
The bird answered the phone in the wraparound to talk to Mama. Sorry, go ahead.
She's like, give this. Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't say stop. Give this message to Johnny. Your brother's in danger. Stop at the movie theater. The bird flies to the jail, gives the message. It goes through a game of telephone that Johnny can still decode.
Yeah, yeah. He also, I don't know if you caught this, but he is eating sushi like on one of those little wooden.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, I love that.
So they're all eating like slop,
gruel and slop.
He's got a piece of yellowtail like on chopsticks halfway to his mouth, and then when they show the wide shot, he has one of those like wooden sushi platform things going on.
We get another dancey fight sequence to call back to earlier in the movie.
Yes.
And Johnny is like, you gotta...
I thought it was gonna... My memory was that it was a food fight, so I was like shocked that I was...
Yeah.
I didn't remember that right.
I thought Johnny's like, you gotta fry me tonight. I can't wait. I was like, oh, he's gonna use his last words to warn his brother. Like they're gonna be like broadcasting on the radio.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like this better. He Happy Meal toy.
I remembered the Happy Meal toy gun thing.
Yeah, he Happy Meal toy builds a gun. And the priest that he especially requested is one of his gangster friends, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he's just like completely babbling nonsense. It's really delightful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Like, basically is like easterly, westerly, northly, southly.
Yeah,
mammaly.
He'll start with like saying, he'll say like one real Catholic phrase and then just like devolve from there.
To gibberish, yeah. Latin to gibberish. And the warden is like, well, Johnny, any last words? And turns around and Johnny's like, yeah, this. And he holds the gun at him. And the guy's like, well said. Puts his hands up. So they get to the exit and the warden's like, Johnny, you really weren't going to shoot me, were you? And he's like, what, with this? And when he throws it to him,
it falls apart.
It becomes just a bunch of pieces.
There's also a great in between scene of Mama Kelly at the movies, and she's like, let me get a popcorn and a milk dud and a white fish. And there's like the fish counter at a deli.
Whole fish, yeah. So there was a bit earlier when Johnny and Mary Lou Henner were having their like romantic daydream where she was talking about how much she liked shelf paper, and so the getaway car is black, and there's it's actually the captain from Gilligan's Island who's
the skipper.
Recognized him. The skipper, yes, thank you. And Johnny Dangerously's been spotted in a black sedan, dressed as whatever, or in his prison jumpsuit, and he gets out and starts peeling off the paper, and they put their new disguise on. It's like, Johnny Dangerously's been spotted in a white sedan dressed as a fisherman, and so he goes to pull off the third one, and it's these little duckies and bunnies, and she's like, well, I thought it'd be for the kids' room, and we cut back to the
they're
skipper
in
again.
nuns. They're in nun
dressed
costumes.
As nuns, and the car is covered in, get this, little duckies and bunnies.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And then they moon someone driving next to them as they change into their like gala outfits.
Yes. So they finally get there. Meanwhile, so the governor's there, the brother's there, the mama is there,
and the wife,
and the wife. And Piscopo cuts a little slit in the movie screen and is going to shoot them through it. And Johnny comes like running in last minute and tries to jump in front of the bullet, but misses. And we find out that Griffin Dunn has been saved by the cigarette case.
The lucky cigarette case.
Yeah.
But Johnny does shoot Vermin. The governor.
Well, we think, but when he gets up, he's not got a bullet hole or anything.
Well, there's no. You don't get hurt in this movie.
Well, the one guy gets shot. Remember, Joe Piscopo shoots the one gangster earlier, and the guy's like, "Hey, you put a hole in my suit," and then like a minute goes by, and he just keels over dead.
Yeah, that's true. Although I thought that joke was that he died from cigarette smoke.
Oh, maybe because Piscopo keeps talking about how this gun is so powerful it'll shoot through like a person and then a tree and then a car.
Yeah. The governor pardons Johnny, and they send Vermin away. Johnny tells Lil that they'll have a life together,
and that they'll have some kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
So they finish up the story. We cut back to the pet shop, and he's like, "Now remember, kid, crime doesn't pay. Although today it pays a little." And he hands him a puppy.
No. He says crime doesn't.
Oh, that's right.
He gives him the free puppy,
I got that
or
wrong.
the cat actually. And he says, "Don't forget, kid, crime doesn't pay." And he goes outside to this like glamorous Rolls Royce where Lil is in a fur and like diamond dress, and then he goes, "Well, it pays a little."
Yeah. Tremendously funny movie. It's shocking to me how poorly reviewed this was back in the day. I meant to look up Ebert and see if he was on the right side of this, but I didn't.
I don't know.
I did not check that out. I just like to see where old Raj ends up on things. Sometimes he could be an interesting temperature of the things back then. But yeah, I was shocked that this wasn't. And not only did it not get reviewed well at the time, but it didn't get the like contemporary bump reassessment that happens sometimes. Like it wouldn't surprise me if like I mentioned earlier how much this reminded me of Hot Fuzz. Like, did those guys like it? You know what I mean? Like the
I bet
from those guys. Yeah,
there was someone that a famous director really liked this movie, and now I can't remember who it was. I read it on IMDb that he like apparently guffawed when he saw it in theaters as like a teaser.
Was it Scorsese, maybe? It feels like a movie he would have gone gangbusters for.
No, but it was like a Scorsese. It's like someone that level of fame, I feel like.
Looks like old Raj gave it 2 stars, and that he seems to like it, but thought it kind of ran out of steam, which like I don't think is necessarily completely incorrect.
It's not the wrongest thing.
Yeah, but I think this is a tremendously funny movie. It is unfortunately not like easy to find. Like I said, I own this bad boy on DVD, so that's how I watched it. But surprisingly, not streaming anywhere. I didn't even see if you could even rent it for streaming anywhere.
I don't know actually.
But I'm sure you can buy this movie very inexpensively on DVD, or maybe not. Maybe it's one of those weird out of print ones. Who knows? But a really funny movie. Hopefully, one that gets a little bit of a bump for its 40th anniversary this year, which I forgot to mention up top.
Hope so.
And maybe when we get this Beetlejuice movie, there'll be some reappraisal of other Michael Keaton movies from the 80s that deserve a little bit of a second look. Maybe we need to do like an emergency episode on that one. We should think about that.
Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to see it.
Go see it. And go see it when it comes out and do a review of that. Maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
And we should try and figure that out. Anyway, highly recommend this. I thought it was funnier than I remembered it being, and I remembered it pretty fondly, but it's just been a long time. And then the other thing is like, man, it's like 85 minutes tops. Like
it's a breezy film.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time if there's something you don't like, don't worry, because it's not going to stick around very long. Great Keaton performance as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's incredibly charming in this. I was delighted by this watch. Like I said, I wasn't sure. You always wonder if things are going to hold up as much as you remember them or as much as you like them. But this one I think is tremendous. So highly recommend. Worth seeking out if you have not seen this. I say.
Agreed.
Thank you so very much for listening to the show. We have another Johnny movie for you next in 2 weeks, and that will be Johnny Handsome with, oh my God, I just forgot the man's name. He played Whiplash in Iron Man 2.
Oh, Mickey Rourke? Nope, Michael Rooney.
Nope.
Hang on.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. I was there. I got there.
Yes, I was like, of those 4 words, 2 of them are correct.
Yeah,
I just have to figure out which order they go in.
Mickey Rooney.
Up in my head are 2 hamsters on wheels, just
going as fast as they can.
It's like just loose wires.
One of them trips and just goes on the wheel.
Yeah. Like there's almost enough to make a spark to start this engine, sir. Mickey Rourke, before he got punched in the face professionally and ruined his good looks. But it is about, why I thought this was interesting is it is about a guy who is very ugly, who gets a surgery to be very handsome.
Oh.
And so that's sort of the opposite of what happened with Mickey Rourke. That he was incredibly handsome and then got punched in the face for a while. As a boxer, but not recreationally. So never seen it, but I think it's going to be kind of an interesting, wild one. I hope it's fun.
It's okay if it sucks, because at least we got one good one this month.
That's right. So we're going to conclude the month of June, which was supposed to be John Lie.
The month of John.
Now makes more sense. The month of John.
You said June.
I know I did. But I was trying to do John Lie with the 2 Johnny movies. But the month of June instead. Don't forget to rate and review the show if you haven't done that. As we said up top, that really helps us out. Tell 2 friends if you haven't done that. And then we'd always like to hear from you. We're on Facebook at Dissect the 80s. On Facebook is Dissecting the 80s. On Twitter at Dissect the 80s. And tell us where else to be, because I could use the help in trying to promote the show to more people. And on that note, tell 2 friends if you like the show. That always helps to spread the word. So if you like us, tell someone that you do. Thank you so very much for listening to the show. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.